So you want to bring this into your life and really look at it from your life. Because that's theoretical, and I get fascinated by it too. I'm like, no, there really is. There's a distinct element. You know, the Nuggets put up a thing about the altitude warning, and it's all for the opposing players, and it messes with a couple of the players. Like they've talked about it.
Yeah.
If you look, you know, there's signs in the locker rooms coming out at all the stadiums here and the arenas. There's the things about altitude. And there's an altitude sickness, and be on the lookout for that. And it's all there, all to mess with people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All better.
Do they do? Yeah.
The
So,
best locker room is called the fail room. It's a big rooster. Last name Fail. That's his room.
Awesome.
They play best teams.
yep.
Fail room.
Unfortunately, those aren't our lives. We're not playing in the NBA, and we're not playing in the NFL. Or you're not a pitcher coming to Coors Field with, you know, messed up with your psyche about the field or the thin air and all that stuff. We're playing the game of our lives. We have our real lives. So that's our fascination talk about in the stands. So now we could get real. So the talking of the people on the court is very different from the people talking in the stands. If you examine the talking of the player on the court, what you would see is that it is distinct from the talk about the game. The talking of the player is the game itself. So the talking on the court is itself action. So for the players, their talking is not a description of the game. I actually examined this too. I looked, and okay, if I actually looked at myself in high school, there's times where it's like, hey, pass comes, hey, shoot. And then there's other times where I might be on the court, but I'm also complaining. You know, yelling at the ref, which in one sense could be an action, but then there's the, he never passes me the ball, and coach doesn't like me, or why does the coach put him in? You know, there's the literally being on the court, like the physical court, but talking of the player in the stands. You guys get that?
Yes.
No.
Me whining and complaining about my coach, or when I played baseball, kids getting more playing time, even though I'm technically on the field, like on the court, was not talking that forwarded the game. It was not the talking of the player in action. It was me bitching and whining.
Well, you weren't fully present because of that too, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. Being a little baby.
Present at all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Kat?
So I played sports, but how about an analogy of somebody who didn't play sports? So maybe like somebody like, she just got up and talked
Well, look at, stand up. So give us, what's something you're dealing with in your life?
No, not about me, I'm just saying that.
Yeah. You're not stepping into this room and not talking about your life.
I almost did it, what?
Of course.
Yeah.
On the court.
And the worst part about this is there's no yoga poses involved in this interaction here.
There could be.
There could be. There could be.
Start doing something, Kat.
But what from your life? Look at your life, something you're dealing with in your life.
Okay.
What are you dealing with?
Work, life.
Okay, so work.
Ships, love.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so pick one.
Okay. Work.
Okay. What are you dealing with at work?
I'm dealing with a lot of great stuff. Coming out of some garbage, pulling into some real leadership possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
some real kick-ass stuff.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that language, what you just said, is that the talk of somebody in the stands, or is that the talk of a player on the court?
Well, it was, and it has been both.
What you just said, though, to us, is that the talk of the player in the stands?
That's the court. That's
Is it?
the court. It is.
What language, hold on, what language that you use is the talk of the player on the court?
I feel that I'm in a really good place in
Uh-huh.
work.
Okay,
And I feel like I've done some huge strides and pulled some real good relationship ties
yeah,
to pull everybody in and
yeah,
sharing the ancient Chinese secret, you know, coming out of my comfort zone and
uh-huh,
teaching and
Yeah.
leading and sharing.
yeah,
And we've gained some real big opportunities to be spotlighted, you
Uh-huh.
know, in our corporation.
yeah, I got, and look, and I'm not invalidating anything that you've accomplished or anything that
Okay.
you're up to. But where you wanna look is you wanna look at the language of what you're describing. So what you had said before that, you said what? When I said, what are you dealing with at work? You said what? You said you came out, there's some good times, there are
Oh,
also
we
some
came
garbage
from a
times.
shitstorm.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
came from a
So
real
hold on, so
shitbag
stay-
a year and a half ago, and
yeah,
now
so
it's awesome.
the storm and the bag,
Yeah,
that you just said,
right.
is that the talk of a player on the court or in the stands?
Well, like I said, it's been both, and I've whined and bitched,
Hold on.
but we've also
Hold on.
made things happen,
I-
and now I'm coming from a
Kat,
place
Kat,
through this.
Stay with me here.
Okay,
You're doing great, this
all right,
is it.
yeah,
This is right here, this is what it is to deal with this distinction.
yeah.
You're just doing the work for us, all of us, whether might be people sitting in their seats and they have their talk of them being in the stands, but they think, oh no, I'm really great at this. I never talk of a player in the stands. I'm very in the world. And they don't realize that that's in the stands. Okay? So you're doing this for us. It's contributing.
Okay, so the
So,
reason why I
hold on,
spoke forward was because I'm a very sports-oriented person, so I
But, hold on,
understand
hold on.
all your
Stay-
player
stay-
concepts. I
Kat,
was saying an analogy.
Kat, stay with me. The conceptual conversation we had about sports really makes no difference.
Mhm,
In one sense, it helps us understand the distinction.
mhm,
That's the only reason we went there.
mhm,
Now we gotta get to your life.
mhm.
Is it being an S storm, and then you had the S bag, and then you dealt with what you dealt with, and then there's garbage. Is that the talk of a player in the stands?
Like I
Or
said,
on
it's
the
been
court.
both.
No, that language you used.
Okay, so I could have rephrased it.
I'm asking you a yes or no question, or an in the stands on the court question.
Okay,
Those are the only answers here.
uh-huh.
So pick one.
So
Was
like
that?
I've said, it's been both, so.
Then it's
so
not
when I-
both. It's not gonna be both.
When I shortcut my language,
Kat,
I understand the power, and that is in,
Kat,
that's
stay-
on that side.
Stay with me here.
Mhm.
Is what you said the talk of somebody on the court or in the stands?
So the slang is in the stands.
Got it.
Mhm.
Why did you have to throw in the slang?
It's a shortcut talk,
I got it.
uh-huh, because I'm
Kat,
past it, so I talk about it. It's not really in the stands for me, because it's past that for me, so
Kat, Alright,
I'm not
look,
really
I'm
in the
I'm-
stands.
my commitment here is
Mhm.
that you get the power of this distinction.
Mhm.
I'm on your side here.
Mhm.
I'm shoulder to shoulder with you,
Yeah.
not physically, but I'm here. I've got your back.
Got it.
I've got you here. My only mission here is that you have the fullest power out of this distinction.
Absolutely.
This distinction could rock your world.
Mhm.
This distinction eliminates the drama we deal with in life.
Right.
So much so that the language of it was a S storm or the S bag or garbage or any of that does not become your vocabulary because that itself makes no difference.
Got it.
So stay with me here.
Mhm.
So I got that you said the slang was in the stands,
Mhm.
but can you get that everything you said is in the stands?
I can in the shortcut realm, yes. If I were to become
Not-
real
there's
and
no shortcut
present
realm.
through every moment, then no. I could talk about being on the court, and I could get real at that level.
Exactly. Okay, now you could get real at that
Absolutely.
level, it was shortcut. Is that the talk of somebody in the stands or on the court?
The shortcut is in the stands.
Got it?
Got it.
Yeah. And then
So
everything's,
I could have rephrased that.
And then I could have rephrased that. Is that in the stands or on the court?
Rephrasing it and thinking before I speak would be in the court.
That, would it?
Absolutely, cause I would put more
No,
forward.
what you said. And I, look, everyone stay with me. I know that this could be like a little tedious, or come on, let's just get somewhere, or whatever you're saying about it. That's the language in the stands. That is how quickly we go to in the stands. If you want to be on the court, pull this into your life and see yourself through CAP.
We're with you.
So this is great. This is perfect, because this is the talk of how we talk. Very rarely do we even examine the words that come out of our mouth. We just speak. We just open our mouth. And then we just go. With very conscious examination of what did I just say and what's the impact of what I just said.
Got it.
Because you created a whole world for what you've dealt with in your company,
Indeed,
all from your language.
indeed. Thank you for bringing that up, and yes, I see.
What do you see?
Well, and you and I have had conversations about my company.
Yeah.
And, I have to say, in the last 2 days, I've had some real awakenings,
Mhm.
just in peace, because I have, and I need to own this, that I have made things better to where I can actually, like, rest. And
Yeah.
it's been really great, so I didn't mean
I-
to say,
No, no,
oh,
no.
now we're
No, no,
coming
no.
from us.
Cat.
And really
Kat,
am in a good place.
I got it.
and
You don't need,
yeah.
there's nothing,
Okay.
there's nothing to explain, there's nothing to justify. Stay with me. The language you spoke and are still speaking is creating a world. It's creating a world. And I would assert that that's what you're dealing with, and that's what's had you not rest, or what you've been at the effect of. There's been no power in that. And this is all of us. This is all of us. We just use different language, or maybe we use the same language. But we have our own versions of us being in the stands that we don't even realize is in the stands.
Okay.
We will say things like, I want, or I feel, or I think, and we don't realize that that's in the stands. I want, I feel, I'm processing, I'm digesting. There's going to be people that leave after session 10, and you guys are going to say you're digesting what you got in the seminar, with no real looking of how that makes absolutely no sense. And some of you will fight me on that. But stay with me. It makes no sense. Or you'll have something happen, you say, man, I need to process this. What? Some of you go, no, this is being processed. I think about it, I do stuff, and I look or wake up, and what? It makes no sense. If you're playing a game, there is no time to process anything. The ball is coming, swing or not swing. Catch ball, shoot ball. Period. Call out a play. We're running Michigan. Great. You go there, I go there. Boom, boom, pass ball. Gets stolen. Great. There's no time for processing, analyzing, any of that. Yeah, Josh.
Seems to me like most language that we all use is in the stands. I mean, if I start thinking about all the words in the English language,
Right.
so many of them are descriptive and
Yeah.
observational and,
Yeah.
and memories and,
Right?
and what I just got done dealing with and what
Yeah.
I'm gonna deal with tomorrow. And
Yeah.
it's all that already always listening shit,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, I don't know, like living only on the court probably doesn't have a lot of time. I mean, it would be exhausting.
Yeah, we'll get to the talk of a player on the court.
Good.
Yeah, so, yeah, great, let's acknowledge Josh, let's acknowledge that.
I just wanted to share that on the advanced course this weekend, the power of words was one of the most impactful things that I got. I used to teach high school English. I'm a songwriter, I'm a poet, so words have always had a lot of power and impact. But the way that it was distinguished this weekend blew my mind. Like, blew my mind. And that's my field of study. That's what I live in.
Yeah,
And just a quick example, I didn't have a lot of interaction with people today, except from my 4-year-old. And getting my 4-year-old and my 8-year-old out the door, as parents know, that's like the worst time. Fighting, spitting, calling each other names, and I was like, you guys, I go, we don't use those kinds of words in our house. I go, language has power. I go, I want you to use, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I completely reframed it, and they calmed down, and I wasn't attached, and I didn't get frustrated that they were fighting. I was just at peace, and I was like, you guys, we've got to change the language in this house because it is so powerful.
yeah, awesome, thank you. Alright, so I'm going to wait a little bit more, so keep grappling with this. So for players, their talking is not a description of the game. Their talk is intended to move the game forward and have an impact on the action. So how do these types of conversations relate to your life? So if you take on your life as a game, consider you've been in the stands about your own life and your own commitments. Your character dwells in the vocabulary of somebody in the stands. So begin to see how much of your life is spent in conversations that have you be a spectator in life. Now all of the assessments, all of the judgments and the stories and the explanations that your character dwells in are the conversation of someone observing life. And like a real spectator, your character has had no responsibility and nothing at risk for the outcome of the game. So, but now you've created yourself as a player, and you also create yourself as responsible and at risk for the outcomes of the games that you choose to play. So, how is it that the talk of a player can make a difference in the game? The talk of the player makes a difference in the game because the talk of the player is action. So to really get this, you guys flip the board. So to really get this, you have to create the distinction of speech action. So a speech action is of speaking or listening that produces a result in the world. So a speech action is not a report on your internal state. Like, I believe, I feel, I want. That's all a report. Definition of a speech action? It's a speaking or listening that produces a result in the world. Like pass produces a result. So speech actions like I declare, I commit, I promise, I request are not reports. These actually produce results in the world. So a declaration produces a possibility. A promise creates the giving of my word to a specific action or a specific result in time. I do not want to be in any pictures. I know.
Your hair looks good.
Spencer, I want to send us a video, bro.
Oh,
That's the first session picture of you, Spencer.
I know you do.
Yeah. It's a good one. You're thinking very deeply.
Alright, so promise creates a giving of my word to a specific action at a specific time. The player dwells in the vocabulary of committed speaking and listening. So, these are what we are saying are distinctions of committed speaking and listening. So declaring, you create a possibility. Committing, yourself is given to a possibility. Promising. requesting, sharing. Yourself and your world is given to another. And you could actually start to, even the, when you shared the landmark form, you could actually look, was I talking about something? Was I trying to describe something? What if I shared? What result would that produce? Or enrolling, inviting. Do you want to do business with me? Do you want to go to a movie? There's now results that are getting created. Could be sharing, or commitment, or declaration. So committed speaking and listening produces results in the world and creates openings for action for yourself and others. It empowers you to be able to realize real results with velocity and ease. It allows you to forward the action of the games that you create into empower others as players. So we're now going to do an exercise on this. Alright, so go ahead and take out your notebooks. I'm like going to turn off my mic or something. Okay. So for this exercise, you could even get out your planners or your calendars or anything like that. But select an aspect of your life that you're going to focus on to do this work.
Sorry, say it again?
Pick an aspect of your life. Just anything that you want to focus on. That's what we'll go to work on. Pick an area of life.
Okay.
It's the words. They create a world. Aspect did not create a world there. All right. Now this isn't going to be a long exercise, so this will be quick. So looking at what you could apply from these distinctions, look at this area of life. And then first look at, all right, what might I declare? Declare it to myself, declare it with others, and as you know, declaring to yourself has
No power.
very little power. What might you commit to? Are there promises to make? What if I actually made a promise in this area? My character has no interest in a promise. It will just go with the flow and let's see what happens, man. What might you request?
See where you're going with this.
That's a good thing.
For each one, you want us to do a declaration on like our career and then a committing on our career, or just pick
Yeah.
one? Yeah, each one.
You could look at the whole world. Just consider in that area, there's been very little to no speaking from being on the court.
Are we doing this now?
Like
Let's
taking,
start.
taking the actions.
Did we start? I'm still waiting to see if you're saying the last three words.
Oh, start writing. What might you declare? Who could you share with? Who could you enroll in a possibility? Who could you invite? What could you invite them to? Take a moment and write down what you see in your notebook. And you might see that there's actions to take. Maybe there's something to put in my calendar. So by tomorrow at 10, I'm calling this person and requesting that they do this. could be a relationship, like I declare that I'm 100% responsible. I'm committing to love and passion. Then maybe in the sharing there's something to be responsible for. If I haven't been responsible, I've been blaming you. I've been reacting and I don't do anything about it. I just think it's your fault.
Pardon me.
Yeah. All right, so who'd like to share? What are you creating? Yeah, Hollis.
Okay, so, piggybacking
Actually,
off my
can you come up
example.
here?
Oh, sure. With my kids is not yelling at them. So, I declare that I will not yell. I'm committed to a peaceful home with respectful communication. I promise I will not yell. I'm requesting no yelling from others. I'm giving my word to my husband, my daughter, and my son. I'm enrolling them all in the possibility of a peaceful home with respectful communication, and I invite no yelling from other people. So some of those were the same.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That was great.
But, and then if you even look, so there's a chance you might yell, right?
Yes. There's definitely a chance.
There's a pretty good chance probably, right?
Yes,
And no problem if you do, but
because I'm still committed to it.
yeah, yeah. And even, and nothing even wrong, but if you just picked it apart or expanded it, like who would you be being, or what would be the commitment if you're at least responsible for the yelling?
I would be the type of person that respectful communication could happen around.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could be an action inside of it. And look, it could be, that's what I'm declaring, and one of my promises is I'm really taking on not yelling. And the second I yell, I will clean that up as soon as I yell. You know, or I will practice, you know, that way it gives yourself some space, but I'm probably going to yell. And maybe you won't, and I could be, you know, totally wrong here, but it's like, I am promising that I'm going to close the gap and close the gap and close the gap on cleaning this up in our relationship. And I'm inviting you to be my partner in this. And give me some space if I do raise my voice a smidgen. You know, but know that I will catch myself. I will clean that up with you right away.
I feel like that's been happening in our family overall, like
Yeah.
minimizing the frequency,
Yeah,
the duration,
yeah,
the intensity, yeah, it's just.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. All right, great. Thank you, Hollis. All right, who else? What are you creating? Yeah, Sandra.
Well,
You come up here so we can.
I am finding myself avoiding something, creating something with the university.
Yeah,
So
the university you work for.
yes, I'm a student success coach at a university, so I guide students from pretty much enrollment to graduation, and I'm just out to, you know, have the leaders have this work so the university can be transformed and we can have graduates, you know, out in the world with just creating their, you know, amazing possibilities and just having it be a domino trickling effect. But, so, like, I did a lot of work around that today. I
Yeah.
connected with my director of student success, I connected with the director of admissions, I connected with the chair of, criminal justice, and then when we started this exercise, of course, that's like the first thing I'm like, well, I could do this exercise on that, and I was
Yeah.
like, no, I just don't, really, it's just too much right now.
Too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I wanted to get lazy around it, or I started with the, story of, they're still not gonna,
Yeah, I got it.
like,
So is anything we said from this is too much and on, any of that on the court or in the stands?
understand.
Yeah. But you want to notice that, I know you know that, but you didn't stop it.
I did not stop it.
You just kept it flowing. And we do the same, look, and this is, we will do this, I don't know why I do this. I keep doing this thing, I don't know why I do it. It might stem from when I was 7 years old with my dad, and from, this, or I was raised this kind of way. Okay, makes no difference in the game. It's fascinating, it's insightful. La-di-da. Makes no difference. And we will keep speaking and speaking and speaking. And I'm saying this specifically to you, because I gotta tell you, Sandra called me Saturday. I thought it was gonna be a coaching call, like, gotta coach her around something. 15 minutes later, I am moved. It was, and I said this to her, maybe the most enrolling conversation that I've had. She shared for 15 minutes straight a frickin' power. Like, if you could just record what she said, play it for any frickin' human being on the planet, it will be so enrolled as every single person will go and register into the Landmark Forum. Yes! It was speech action. It was peer sharing and rolling. It was so powerful. I went and I told my wife about it, and I'm like, this is the whole reason I lead seminars. This is the fulfillment of it. That she gets to be that way. I didn't know you that way. I knew you as powerful. I know what you've dealt with. I know that your brother's death and how powerful you've been with that, and everything you've dealt with, and how you transformed your mom's life, and that she's moved from Puerto Rico where she could have died, and she's here. I know all of that, but I didn't know that. Like, the graduate frickin' emerged. Her 15 minutes was more powerful than Susan Eckel all weekend, and that woman was as powerful as it gets. That's what's possible. And you did that. It's enrolling, it's powerful. I mean, I literally went home, I don't know when I spoke to my wife, but I told her, I said, this one graduate called, and like, that's everything. That's everything. I mean, seriously, it was, I could go on and on about it. That you gotta look at your body in the mirror, and I'm just gonna say it because it was so, I vividly remember every freaking moment of those 15 minutes. She could look her body in the mirror, not be attached to how she looks, and have pure freedom. Cool, that's Thursday. The student wants to commit suicide at her school. She's the one to go make the difference, have him get that he matters, and what you're dealing with, you have no idea that that could contribute to another human being. Boom, there's that. Look, and then my university, I think that if I could get with all these people, we could go and we could transform the planet. We could be the largest for-profit university in the world, and we could have this be the tipping, I know you didn't say those words, but we could have that be the tipping point that transforms the planet. I could talk to my director and I could have him get that, wow, he could be the one that makes the difference. He could be the one that transforms the planet. He could transform the university. It's all going to start with the leaders. I want to enroll the leaders. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, and then I had a conversation with my sister, and my sister's enrolled, and I dealt with this. I cleaned up how I am. She can see that, yeah, I'm not perfect. I deal with stuff, but I have power. Great, all of this. That's just what's possible when you're a graduate out in the world. The world needs graduates. People don't have this. Power. I've shared, well, count these people, but there's 10, 15 other people that I've shared with since we had that conversation.
Well,
So no more of this dwelling in the stands, going down to, falling back on this commitment. Your speaking should be coming up here and saying, look, I had a conversation, it didn't go the way I wanted it to, or there's more expansion, but look, I'm declaring that I'm gonna keep standing for the director. And I'm committing to that, I'm going to transform this university. I'm promising to go have this conversation tomorrow at this time. Or at some point tomorrow, but there's a promise, and it's in time. That's the power here. You don't have to go down to, I have a story, or any of the, the road that you're going down. You get that? There's just no power there.
I want to share when I was talking to my boss and I told him that, I said, you in your position can be the game changer for the entire university with this work, and he like went like this, his eyes went open, they like started twinkling, you know what I mean, like just his reaction was like, it was like, he just got, wait, what,
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll just go back to action.
Brilliant. And you could even get present to that. She made that man bigger in that conversation. You opened up a world that wasn't there for him. He goes, does what he does every day, has whatever satisfaction he has whatever struggles or stresses he has, that's his life. Nothing wrong with it. But you've now opened the door into something else being possible. Right? Transform? I don't even know what you mean by transform, but okay.
I think,
Yes.
one thing that I discovered in this moment is that when I just keep talking, I start stumbling, and I just need to not do so much talking.
Yeah.
Sit down. Yeah.
No, but I get it. I really do. Okay. Anything about this conversation, anything that you're hung up on or that you don't quite grasp, or is it pretty clear? Or are you now worried that you might say something that's in the stands and look bad?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's where I am.
It's
Yeah.
clear so far.
Okay, so what's there for you? Stand up.
Saying something that's in the stands or operating in my life like I'm in the stands as opposed to actually being the action.
What do you mean by that? That's what you don't get, or that's what you're seeing?
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, got that. Let's acknowledge Taryn.
For me, as I do this exercise, I'm seeing that I'm having a real hard time actually using action words.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am still on declaring.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. so
What is
that's
something you could declare right now?
To take action? I
On
don't
what?
know. Well, I was trying to do it on the business that I'm working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so really it's all about taking care of my family. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really where it is. So
Yeah,
I can declare that I'm gonna take care of my family.
awesome.
Yeah. And
You
then.
see how simple that is?
Well, that's great, and then, okay, so I kinda lied a teeny bit, because I got all the way down to sharing and I couldn't do it.
And look, it doesn't mean, if you're playing basketball, you don't have to share with people. So you don't have to have every one of these speech actions involved in whatever you're up to. Sometimes it's a call, declaring or promising, or requesting. Can you show up at 7? Cool. I don't need to enroll you in that, or maybe I do, but
Okay.
like, hey painters, can you be there at 8 a.m.? Great. See you later.
It does sound simpler
Yeah,
as you say that,
yeah.
yeah.
So you're right there. And look, and this is going to be, it's just like with Christina, with not being responsible and getting that whole world. There's nothing wrong with the other world. There's nothing wrong with living life in the stands. You just don't get the results you want. So there's nothing wrong. You could go home. I mean, I love having spectator conversations. I find them fascinating. I just know it's not going to make a difference. If I am in the stands with my business, no money comes in. Not cool. But there's conversations to have. There's promises to make. There's requests to make. It moves something forward. So you don't have to worry about having this all wrapped in a bow. It's a very simple distinction. You'll start to discover this as you wake up tomorrow, or you have conversations, and you're like, oh my God, I really am in the stands more than I thought. I talk about my feelings all day long. And nobody cares about my feelings. Yeah, Ryan?
I was kind of oblivious to this, but I just realized one of my goals for 2019 was to buy a house. And I was running over this going, oh, wow, that actually, is totally me, because a lot of this stuff is, I've been complaining about how I don't like renting. I'm going to stop that and do this and all this stuff. And so I started running through, and I declared this year I'm going to buy a house. I've committed myself to that possibility. I've promised to do certain actions. And so I've already found a bunch of real estate agent friends of mine that I know, and so now all it is just action.
Yeah.
It's not complaining about this or that.
Right.
Maybe it'd be cool to live there. I don't know. It's more of a write it down. Okay, these are my choices. Let's do this one.
Yeah. And it simplifies it. It's just
Yeah,
straight.
super simple.
It's real. It's in reality. And that's where you get to play. You get to be somebody who dwells on the language I'm speaking in my life. What is it creating?
Inspire other people to buy houses.
You could roll them in buying you a house.
Yeah, you want to be my
What do you
roommate?
think about buying me a house under my name?
Yeah.
Outside.
All right, so take a minute and just share with the person next to you, what are you discovering in this conversation? Then we're going to have a new conversation. And then you're ready to hit. Make sure you switch. Go ahead and switch. All right, 20 more seconds. Alex, is that on? start to wrap it up. And acknowledge your partner. Okay, so new conversation. Got it. All right, quick question. Yes.
Okay, so,
Stand up.
yeah, one of the questions I had, I wrote a thing this weekend.
Stand up, please.
Okay. If the goal is to come to reconciliation place, I have to mean, what's the point of living beyond today? Why build, why strive, why have good character, why declare, commit, promise? Is it for me, for today, to bolster my walk through this life and this experience? If the work of my hands doesn't last longer than my time here, do I need to accept it? Just accept that the work itself is valuable and worthwhile? Does it actually enrich me, or does it need to look beyond me? So in kind of choosing those declaring, there's a question of being meaningless, and what's the point beyond it? Is it for me and my walk, or is it for those around me? Like I've been in 200 years, we'll all be dead. And the work of our hands will probably not with us. So what is the point of doing all of this stuff?
That's a good, I don't know.
Okay.
But is that question a question in the stands or on the court?
Well, that's in the stands. It was just a thought that I was curious about as far as what the point or purpose of getting on the court is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody remembers who won after Michael Jordan won the championship. Or some people remember, but most people don't
Yeah.
remember who won the next year. What is it for us
This is
as
the
a
Rockets.
ratification?
That was in between, the Rockets was in between.
Don't go where I'm taking it.
I was thinking it was the Patriots.
Yeah, but look, here's the thing, and then it's a great question, but that inquiry could be a fascinating inquiry. But my life before this, what's the point? It really had no point. There's nothing created. There's nothing authentically created. Now, I'm standing for the transformation of the planet. That's a creation. It's a declaration. Is it the right one? No. Is it a better declaration than anything somebody else creates? No, not at all. But it gives me power, and there's actions inside of that. Like, most of the time I wake up, I have no interest in being a seminar leader. I have no interest in people. I wake up, there's the moments you just lose hope for humanity. And then you talk with Sandra, and you're like, oh my God. And I'm not saying Sandra's the only one. I mean, it's really every conversation I have with you, no matter what it is, you don't have to compare yourself like, well, I don't think I've enrolled you like that. Who cares? It's that talking with a graduate or being around the advanced course, seeing what was possible, it creates a whole world. And that's where I get to stand. And there's power, there's actions inside of it. I'm only at the advanced course as a promise. There's an interest. But I told Susan, hey, I'm going to be there at this time, and then Sunday night I'll be there at some point. But there's a world there. There's a creation. There's power inside of it. So what's the point? Great, but that's an end of stands question.
I wasn't trying to do that.
No, I got it. No, I think it's right there in the conversation. It's perfect. Okay, so new conversation. Now we've got to look at, all right, what's next after your seminar? What is my life for? What's the purpose of my life? What am I up to? What are my structures? Now, having the breakthroughs you've had doesn't mean you've reached the top of the mountain, especially when there is no top to the mountain. In one sense, you're screwed. And then in another sense, there's the magic of the climb and what's possible. So you can look at the world of transformation like, and I'm sorry for all the sports analogies. Some of you are like, I hate sports. But they're great analogies. But it's like great athletes. They train over time. Now the beauty is you could look at an athlete and most of them have like a 4 to 20-year career. And then they're kind of done, and you've got to create a whole new game there. Luckily, in the world of transformation, you get to just continue transforming until the day you die. So there's no peak. You're not some athlete who, you know, past your prime, or, you know, some of you like, man, if I could just be like how I was when I was younger. No, this is the world of transformation. You are continuing to climb the mountain. Now, when you stop working out, you kind of fall down the mountain a little bit. I know some of you have dealt with that when you participated over time and then you've taken your, you know, your breaks. There's that world of what's out there in the world that creeps in, like Susan created. We've got the crabs in the bucket. So, the seminar program is designed to empower you till the day you die. It was created by graduates, it was requested from the graduates, and it got created for the graduates. It's for you. And some of you are in the advanced course. What's next for you, which I know most of you are doing, is the Self-Expression Leadership Program. And then some of you have the advanced course coming up. And as much as I hate to say it, if you have the Self-Expression Leadership Program coming up, probably don't do a seminar. And I hate, it's like, it's weird to say, it's uncomfortable to say, but it's, what I know is you've got a whole world that's being created, and it's the future called completing the curriculum. And you are a distinct human being when you complete the curriculum. Yeah?
On last week, I just want to share my little bit about my hangout. On last week's leadership call, I was like thoroughly entrenched in the idea that I'm going to finish this seminar
Oh, right.
and do my part and get through this advanced course and just be comfortable in the universe with the technology that I've gained and just let it absorb and see how I can apply it to my life. And it's sort of how I've been feeling like the last week or so. But gosh, what I